Check it out, just take a chance. It's time for Celerypants. All right, we need an update. Let's talk. There's gonna be some updates. There's gonna be some learning. So prepare. If you don't like the horse bike episodes, then you don't want to watch this. I won't count it against you. Just click off now. I'm probably the only person on YouTube who's telling people to click off their videos, but anyway, I'm going to talk about the horse bike, and I don't want to punish you if you don't want to hear about it, but you probably wouldn't have clicked on it if that was the case. So anyway, here goes. So updates on the horse bike. So as you saw in the last one, I took the wheels off, I took the tires off and everything. I took it all apart. I started looking at it and trying to figure out what was wrong with it and what I needed to do to fix it. And there was that obvious piece that was like a spring and like a little piece of metal that I was like, is this a clutch? By the way, like as I mentioned previously, I don't know anything about bicycles for the most part other than how to ride one. So looking into things, I kind of have now picked up a little bit of knowledge about at least the rear wheel. So yeah, we saw that little piece. It was like a spring and a little piece of metal, and it was obviously mangled. So I knew that was wrong. And then as I was cleaning the parts, they're all, covered in gunk for who knows how old. I think it turned out this thing was maybe from the 80s or 90s was how old the hub was when I took it apart. But I basically put it in acetone. You can use brake cleaner. Brake cleaner is actually better. Anyway, I soaked it, scrubbed it all clean. It was obvious that one of the bearings was missing, a couple balls in it. And then I tried to look up the actual hub so I could kind of figure out what's going on. What am I going to do next? How am I going to fix this thing? So this is where the learning part is going to come in here. Let me get the parts and we can talk about those, and then we're going to talk about how this thing works and then what that means for moi. So as I was searching for the parts, first I was searching for the hub to try to figure out what kind of hub it was so I could see a schematic and figure out what I needed to do with regard to the parts. I started to figure out, first there's different types of bearings, which is kind of not that important for this conversation. I got past that. But then I realized there's all different types of, rear wheels. Like most have like different speeds and stuff. This bike doesn't have that. But what it did have is it did have this thing that was sticking off the side, which was on this far side over here. And some of you already instantly know what this means. But what I found out is that means that this bike has coaster brakes. The coaster brakes, if people aren't familiar, so when you're pedaling normal, like you're pedaling forward like this, it spins the wheel. Duh, everybody knows that. Also, if you just stop pedaling and just kind of like hold your pedal like right here, the wheel will keep spinning and it'll make that like buzzing, clicking sound, however you want to call it. And it keeps going. But if you move the pedal backwards, so instead of going like this, you go the other way, then that's how you brake. There's no like cables on the handlebars or anything. By going backwards, you brake. So it kind of does three things. So that's coaster brakes. So then that brings us to our parts over here. Here's our rear wheel. Here's a cleaned out hub. I ran out of brake cleaner, so I didn't have a chance to clean that. But here's all our parts. So what I started to find was, number one, I noticed when I was cleaning this, let me see if I can actually show it. Right there, it says Suntour 19. So Suntour is like a vintage, I think it's a Japanese bicycle company. I'm not sure. I saw another video where it was a Suntour and they said made in Taiwan, but I think it's a vintage Japanese bicycle company. Anyway, so I saw that and I was looking this up. I couldn't really find a Suntour bicycle hub, but what I did find is some good videos describing how these coaster brakes work, and then I could start to piece together what was going on here. So I'm gonna first try my best to explain it, and then I'm gonna put in the comments below an excellent video by an older gentleman who, you couldn't explain it any better. If you have any interest at all, if you've made it this far and you're still interested in what I'm saying, you should go watch this video. Anyway, the deal is with coaster brakes, you have This is the, you know, the sprocket that the chain is attached to. And then you have this piece, which as you can see, kind of screws on here and it spins in and out like that. And this fits right inside here in the hub, okay? And it fits in there pretty snugly. It's so snug, in fact, that these little serrated spots, these teeth, when you pedal forward, it drives it forward like this, and this part pushes on the inside of the hub here. These serrated little teeth push on the inside of the hub, and that's what grips inside the hub. And so the sprocket is driving this, and that's what makes it pedal forward. But when you rest, it's able to relax, and then it just kind of spins. And then when you go backwards, what it does is basically, sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand here. This piece butts up against this piece like that. And in fact, the spring is inside there too, which has helped driving this way most of the time. But normally this is butted up against that. And then there's brake shoes that fit in here. And when this goes that way, it's like a wedge kind of effect. And so the brake shoes are normally flat, but when it drives that way, this pushes the brake shoes out. And it forces the brake shoes against the inside of this hub, and that's what causes it to stop. Please go watch the other video. He explains it much better, but in a nutshell, that's what it does. However, you might be saying, Celerypants, where's your brake shoes? Exactly, there are none. So that's probably the biggest problem here. I got multiple problems here. One, there's no brake shoes. Looking at this piece here, there should be two brake shoes. There should be one on this side and one on this side. I have zero. So I think what happened is someone tried to fix this and then they realized they weren't going to, and then they put it back together and that was that. But they left the brake shoes out. So there's no brake shoes. I would have to find brake shoes. And good luck finding a Suntour bike hub, a Suntour 19 bike hub brake shoes. Secondly, this clutch thing is totally destroyed. This is not repairable. So I don't know how I would replace this either. So I need brake shoes and I need that. And then third of all, obviously this bearing is destroyed. I would ideally want to replace all these bearings because they're all probably old, but this one's missing 3 ball bearings, 1, 2, 3. You can pop these out pretty easy. And that's how I cleaned them. But so I would need 3. So I need a bearing at least. I need 2 brake shoes, this thing, and 3 bearings, ball bearings to replace that, or just buy the bearing. And then I could put all this together. This is just like an end cap dust cover, and it's got that square part, which is what the coaster brake part grips onto, and then just bearings. And then on top of all that, I noticed that the threads on the center part of the hub here, the axle, I guess, the threads are all missing. So something has been destroying the threads. So that's not good either. I mean, maybe it could work, but it's not ideal. So a bunch of destroyed parts, like a vintage bike hub parts. And this isn't like, you know, how people think of classic cars, like, oh, you know, you can just go get some old parts. This would be like some car that nobody cares about. Like, sorry if you like this car, but I'm just trying to think of something random, like a Pontiac, like a 1999 Pontiac Grand Prix. Like nobody's like excited about those. Like those are all smashed and like turned into refrigerators by now. And I get the sense that this particular bike hub, you know, was like that. This isn't like some cool mountain bike or road bike or just like super beautiful cruiser bike. This just was just some generic bike made by Suntour. And so it seems like I can't find these parts. They're gone. So if I can't get the parts and I can't just buy a hub for the same reason, that basically means I have to buy just new wheels for the bike. I was never planning on installing the tires on the wheels myself.
I wouldn't do that on a car. I'm not gonna do it on a bike. I think it requires pretty specialized equipment and I have no interest in it. So I was gonna do that anyway. So all this is to say, I went to a bike store and basically I'm gonna buy new wheels and tires and just put them on the bike. I'm really happy with the ones that they had, that they showed me. I think they look pretty good. It is disappointing to me. I would have rather done it myself. And I feel like it definitely feels cop out, but there's really no other way around it. There are no other, I'm not gonna find the parts. I'm not gonna find an old Suntorn 19 bike hub. That's not, and even if I did, it would cost too much. Like, I didn't pay that much money for this bike, so I don't want to pay a whole bunch of money for a hub either, you know. So the most reasonable thing is to just, you know, bite the bullet and just buy new wheels and tires that already come with the hub. So that's what I'm going to do. But in order to do that, they do want to have the bike, and it won't fit on their stand with the horse on it. So now I'm going to be pulling the horse off the bike so that I can bring the bike in and we can get the wheels and tires installed. And that will be what we're doing next. I think after that, I'm gonna leave the horse off and I'm gonna clean up the frame of the bike and everything else. Maybe I'll clean up the horse stuff separate. I'm not sure about the horse part, but I'm gonna fix up the bike before I put the horse back on officially. So at least that's good. I had to kind of do it anyway, but I did want to try to ride it before I took the horse off of it, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. So that's what we're gonna do. Gonna buy new wheels and tires, and first we're gonna take the horse off. So let's do that right now. So it looks like these bars go through, and that's the primary thing holding the horse on. And then there's all these metal wires. So I'm gonna start by trying to get these off. So yeah, let's do that. Some more encouragement. All right, so it's just this screw and a nut going through this pole. Got the same thing on the other side. We need to take care of that, and then we'll figure out how to pull that whole pole out. All right, so I got the other nut and bolt out. I used a less destructive method than banging from underneath. The second time I basically did like, this was the bolt going through, and it's just basically stuck because of like tension. So I just put the wrench underneath and pulled up on it while I used the screwdriver to unscrew it. That way the threads would catch and help back it out. No need to use a hammer and be all caveman-like about it and potentially damage things. And then I was able to pull one cap off the far side here, which is all I really need. Now I think I can just pull this whole rod out, so that's what I'm gonna try to do now. Maybe I'll put this screwdriver through to give us a little more leverage. getting stuck. Something here. There we go. Almost out of imagine. This is not gonna be fun to get back in. Anyway, got that out. A good method, this is what I was trying to say before. When you take stuff apart, not only should you film it, take good pictures, but then once you have all the parts out, just stick the parts back in the spots where they went originally. So like this guy, I'm gonna put this nut on him. And he's gonna hang out here like this. I'm gonna do the same with the other side. That together, and we're gonna just put the cap on, and then this piece is attached. There's all the parts, that's what does. So it holds the horse on. Now let's try to take the one out of the back. Oh, this is easy, much easier. All right, we got that guy out, no problem. Now I'm just gonna put the pieces back in it like you saw on the other one. Now let's check how sturdy this thing is. Kind of feel what's holding it on. There's still something back here holding it on pretty good. Let's cut these wires, these metal wires, and then we'll see. We'll try to figure out what else is holding it on. All right, let's clean out. So there's like, I can't remember what we call them. There's like a metal strap holding it on too down here. Put the hole in my glove. Oh, our friend down here. Very pretty. It's like a baby dragonfly. There's all kinds of clips and clamps. I'm gonna cut this part out for you guys. Okay, that might have been some of the most impressive part of the construction of this bike. That was some intense braiding. That person definitely had done that before. But I undid it all, which hurt a little bit because they did such a good job, and I know I'll never be able to get it back, but I wouldn't be able to get this apart, wheels on it otherwise, so had to be done, unfortunately. Almost off. Just hitting on one thing here. Let's see from the inside here. Maybe that's all I'm hitting on is the bikes. Not sure. So make sure. Okay. It looks like a war scene, but we got it off. This bolt and nut that we're holding on the seat, very hard to access. Normally, see how that's squared off? You can push this in and that prevents it from spinning while I'm trying to take the nut off, but I wasn't able to push up on the horse or push in on the thing and spin it. I didn't use the wrench, I had to use a socket, and then whatever, nobody cares. I got it off. The horse has a seat stuck up in him still, but I'll get that out in a second. Anyway, important thing is I got the horse off the bike, so now we can bring the bike in to get the wheels on, and then I'll worry about how the heck to get the horse back on there later. Let me clean all this up and close it out for today. All right, this is most of the junk that was holding the horse onto the bike. So I got it all cleaned up. Here's the bike, here's the horse. Like I said, I'm gonna bring it in. Whew. But that's all I have for today. Thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a little educational. It's gonna be nice to see the horse bike with some wheels and tires, and especially when we get the horse back on it. But that may be a little bit. Hope everybody's doing okay. Hope everybody's feeling good. And that's all. Okay, bye.